All right, welcome everyone. Good to see everyone. Hi Ruth. Hi Billy. Hi Jen. Yeah, Holly, he's out. He is out. Yeah, Jackson is nice and chill right now. And hopefully, I will not forget, like I did yesterday, to give him his second dose of medication because, oh my goodness, he was off the chain last night. Yes, he is. He is just very chill, and we have a big day coming up on Friday. For those of you who have not been keeping up with the saga, we are finally getting ourselves fixed on Friday. That is so long overdue. So we are very excited about that. Mama's way more excited than he is going to be. he he does not know what is coming, but he will. All right. I am going to minimize this and we'll get moving here. All right, great to see everyone. Thank you so much for coming back and being a part of the second day of the Weight Loss Done Right Masterclass. Just could not be any happier that you all came back. And hey, Alyssa, good seeing ya. The today's topic, I'm calling it the practical side of weight loss, and then I say, well, kind of, because one thing that I know is that what we talked about yesterday is not exclusive nor separate from what I consider the practical side, which is more of the eating part. They all go together. Everything blends together. And I have to look and see if she's here. I'm going to definitely be looking for Debbie Rooney. I'm going to be looking for you to chime in because I know this has been a huge thing for you is bringing those two sides together. And you've had some amazing success in the last week or so, which is just amazing, makes my heart so happy. So I'll definitely want you to chime in as to what's, how these things all kind of blend together. So again, welcome. Thank you for coming back. You know that, I always want you to have something to write with, a piece of paper, a pencil, something, because I'm going to be dropping a lot of information that I definitely want you all to be able to take and use and kind of take steps to move forward. But there definitely are goals for the presentation. So the goals that I have for today are, I'm going to want you to understand that why diet and exercise just is not enough to lose weight and keep it off. So diet and exercise, they are just not, in and of themselves, not enough. Second thing, I want to illustrate for you how losing the diet mentality is absolutely the answer. Losing that idea of I have to be on a diet, how that is that just changes the game so much. The third thing is I want to show you how we all need to look to babies. Yes, I said it, babies, to see how much food we need to eat. Okay, and I'll explain that. And then lastly, I'm going to present to you, because this is what everybody always asks. Oh my God, what are the foods that you eat? Who cares what I eat? But I'm always asked all the time, like, what do you eat? And I'll share with you what I eat, and I'll share with you what you should eat in order to lose weight. So those are the 4 things we're going to talk about today. So I want to do a quick little review of yesterday's class, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have you all do it. So what I would like for you to do in the comments, if you either watched on replay or you were live in the group, I would like you to post in the comments what your personal biggest takeaway or your Oprah aha moment was from yesterday that kind of blew you away and you were like, oh, I'm not going to forget that. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that. So please, in the comments, and then I'll kind of go through and that'll kind of be our review from yesterday. So again, your biggest takeaway, your biggest aha moment, put it in the comments, and then I will jump over and rattle those off. So yes. Oh good, we had so many people here. So good to see everyone. Okay, so again, if you can drop in the comments what your biggest takeaway was. All right, so Dina, you can choose your thoughts 100%. You can choose your own thoughts and you get to decide. You get to decide which thoughts you want to keep and you want to bring with you and you want to hold on to, and which ones you want to say, oh, no, Not happening. Okay. To be okay with bad feelings. Absolutely, Denise, that is so true. We've got to be able to lean in to negative emotions and not be afraid of them, because that's what gets us into trouble. That's what gets us eating when we're not hungry. You're in control of how absolutely, Tracy, I'm in control of how I let things affect me. Totally true. It's normal for your brain to want to make you eat to be happy, and you're not bad. Your brain is just telling you, you're not crazy. No, Tony, you're not. Using my second thought, that is my own and not the first, that is your brain's reaction to the situation. Absolutely. You guys are amazing. Self-talk, that you have to lay the foundation that is solid and really dial in your self-talk. That's awesome. That's awesome. Robin, that's so good. Power of our thoughts, MK, you are a master at that for sure. Strategy to recognize certain ways and know your triggers. Don't push away feelings by distracting with food. We are okay with pushing thoughts. If we don't want a thought, we can say no. But feelings, when we have a feeling, we don't want to push it away. We want to lean into that. Self-talk, you control your talk. Oh, you guys are so good. So good. When you don't feel good about yourself, that's how your day will go. You got it, Jackie. That's so true. The primal brain impacts food choices. Super true. Yes. Okay. Brain is doing what it should. Yes, you are not doing, your brain is absolutely acting exactly as it should. And it's not a reflection that you aren't doing enough. Now you know, and now you can do better. Now you can decide, like, oh, I'm not going to buy into that. Because for most people, they don't even realize this is happening. So, Anne, that's such a good point. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Absolutely. Hi, Gloria. Good to see you. Okay, great. That was an awesome review. Thank you so much for participating in that. That's very, very helpful. So if anyone's on here and you weren't on yesterday and you haven't gotten a chance to watch the replay, that's okay. Not a big deal. Totally good. Want you to stay. The replays, again, replays were emailed out last night. It's still live on my personal profile. Again, it's just listed as my personal profile doesn't move as fast as my group profile does, and so the live is still there. You can still watch it live, or I email it out to everybody who registered for the masterclass. So you have those things, and I also sent out the affirmations worksheet last night with the email that had the replay on it. So if for some reason you didn't get that, you didn't see it, it was bounced, whatever, who knows, just send me a private message and I can send it to you. Okay? All right. So at the top of your page, I want you to write, if you're taking notes, you have a page for notes, I want you to write part 2, the practical side of losing weight. Well, kind of. That's in parentheses. Well, kind of. So the first thing we're going to talk about, part 1, is that whole idea of why diet and exercise is not enough. And so this part 1 that I'm going to talk about is, I have titled it The Complexities of Being Human. The Complexities of Being Human. So part of the package of being a human and not being like my golden child back here in the corner, we have very different brains. We have very different reactions to things. And part of that huge difference is the very massive difference between what is between my 2 ears and what is between Jackson's 2 ears. And the most significant thing that is different between us is my ability and your ability to be able to feel emotion. We have a higher level, more complex brain where we can rationalize things. We can, cause and effect. We just have a slew of emotions, beliefs, thoughts, and opinions. And we are different than animals because we don't just act on instinct. And honestly, sometimes that would be so much easier, but that isn't what we have in our lives. So it's really when we try to make changes, that's when we have to look at a change or anything that we want to accomplish in our lives. Anything that we do is not a mathematical equation. Everybody wants to make weight loss about math. And I'm going to say, when it comes to the really rudimentary, like calories in, calories out kind of thing, to a certain extent, yes, there is some truth to that. But that is not taking into consideration the slew of emotions, beliefs, thoughts, and opinions that all of us who are walking around on two legs, that all of us carry with us. That's what no one is talking about. All the things we talked about yesterday, no one's talking about that in relationship to weight loss. And so it's important to remember that it's not just that simple. That diet and exercise, that doing the math from a practical standpoint, if you were a robot, you'd have no problem. You would absolutely be just fine if you were a robot, but you're not. So there's so much more to it. A perfect example of this is, and I know that there are many, many people, and there are many people on this call, there's many people I work with who have talked about they have had gastric bypass, one of the varieties of the various forms of gastric bypass, or one of the various forms of weight loss surgeries. And they went into it really believing that that was going to be the answer. Because from a very removed mathematical, very practical standpoint, absolutely that should work. 100% that should work. But what's not taken into consideration is that emotional side. And I'm going to say that of the people that I've spoken to who have had weight loss surgery, I don't think of any of the deep conversations that I've had with people, has anyone ever not said, I know there's something else going on. I know there is a psychological and emotional component to it, because I've got everything here, everything physically that I need in order to lose the weight and keep it off, and that still is a struggle. And so that really shows, and it's not that anyone is weak or they can't do something or they're just not trying hard enough. That's not it. It's that we are not giving our brain the power and our emotions the respect that they need to have in order for us to be able to really say, that's the piece that we need to be looking at, not just what we're eating and not just how much we're moving our bodies. Although those two things are components, they are not the end all be all. We have to be looking at that emotional piece. And because it obviously, the way things are going in the diet industry, it's just not working. When 99% of the people who lose weight gain it back, and usually gain more back, that's a problem. That's a problem, and that's a problem that no one seems to be wanting to address. And so that's, it's time that we really take a look at that, and we really dig into it. And I will share a little story a little bit later about kind of again where this whole idea came from for me when it came to my own eating. So I had touched on this yesterday a little bit, that our brain is wired to keep us happy. And it wants us to avoid pain and discomfort, and it's all about your survival. And I don't think that there is a person, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. And anybody can say if they think this way when they go on a diet, absolutely put in the comments like, no, I think it's amazing. But I know very few people who start a traditional diet and are like, oh my God, I am so excited. It's going to be so much fun. And I am going to absolutely feel amazing from day one. I am going to feel so good about myself, and it's going to be just fabulous. Like that broccoli and chicken breast is going to be just like it's going to be amazing. I know very few people who feel that way. It's usually like, oh, I got to do this. And that's okay. But what do we know about our brain? When our brain knows that we're unhappy, what does it want us to do? It wants to make us happy. And what does it know that will make us happy? The food will make us happy. So just going on a diet, your brain is like, what are you doing? You know I'm going to try to make you happy because I can tell you're upset. You know your brain's going to do that. So we've got to realize that we are just like playing into like we're setting ourselves up for failure because we know how our brain, now you know how your brain's going to react. So really, when you go on a diet and you think, okay, we gotta just buckle down, I gotta be really strong, I gotta get that willpower going, that's when your brain's like, ooh, she's upset. I know an apple fritter would make her happy. They're my favorite. And so, it's gonna do whatever it takes to get you to get that apple fritter or that breakfast sandwich at Arby's, McDonald's, Burger King, whatever you want to talk about. It's going to do whatever it takes to get you to do that because it doesn't want you unhappy. Now you know. That's why diets set you up for bottoming out, because you're actually going against what your brain naturally wants to do. Your brain naturally wants to keep you happy, and it knows food does it. So when you start to be miserable on a diet, it is going to work really hard to make you happy. And that is going to defeat you. So again, we have to just understand that process, understand what kind of we're setting ourselves up for, and then decide, does that work? I'm going to say, yeah, not really. So we need to think of a different way. If we were robots, regulating diet and exercise would be so easy. But unfortunately, I think we know we're not. And we have to, it isn't cut and dry like a mathematical equation. It's just not. There's not a right or a wrong. We have to embrace our humanness and realize that as humans, we oftentimes are gonna have to decide how we want to move forward, and do we want to ignore that humanness, those emotional sides? Because if we do, we know what we're going to turn to. Because we talked about that yesterday. When we don't feel our feelings, we turn to food. So we have to realize that we have to acknowledge that, and that has to be something that is addressed. And like I said, that is one of the things that I had to learn, that I realized I absolutely had to address that because it wasn't working for me either. It absolutely, for anyone who is wanting to lose weight, and and I've talked about this before. I talked about it in a post a couple weeks ago about how all of these you're getting probably inundated with all of these emails about this diet, that diet, whoever's mailing list you're on. You're getting all sorts of things just bombarded to you, and it really is hard not to think, oh gosh, I know I could I could just drop, I could be miserable for 2 weeks and I could drop 10 pounds. Oh, that'd be awesome. And we have to remember that there's a whole other, and this is what I really want to get across, there's a whole other side of how we feel about ourselves, what we think about ourselves, what we think about our potential, what we believe we're capable of, and what we believe we are deserving of, and what we are worthy of. And those are the things that need to be looked at. Those are the pieces that have to be addressed. Because if they're not addressed and we just try to go straight up eating and exercise, we're going to lose some weight, and we're going to end up right back where we started. Because we're not learning what we really need to be dealing with. And that is that part of our brain that brings that emotional piece into it. All right, questions. I'm going to pop back over onto Facebook, see if there's any questions. Let's see. And George, I just saw what you wrote, and I'm going to get back to that. Okay, so George, you were wondering okay, so George, I'm going to ask you to respond, if you can write in the comments. Did you sign up for the masterclass on it was a link and you had to sign up. You had to put your email in. If I don't have your email, just send me a private message and I can send you all that stuff. Okay? So I absolutely will. But if I didn't, maybe it might have gotten kicked back. So, all right, questiones. Any questions? Morgan, hi girl. Good to see you. Oh my goodness. You know you've been busy. All right. So if there's no questions about that piece. So again, diet and exercise. It's not the thing. It is not the thing. We need to think more about the other pieces. We need to think about that emotional human component to it. Okay? All right, getting back. Let's jump back in. Part 2 of day number 2. This one I'm calling Stop Punishing Yourself. I don't think, and like I said before, I don't think anybody is like, woohoo, I get to go on a diet. I am so lucky. Oh my God, how could I be so lucky? No, diets they're viewed as punishment. They're a specific time frame of frankly, of misery that you set up, that you inflict upon yourself, and you completely alter your life. You make yourself pay for all these things that you supposedly have done wrong, and again, it's very punitive. It just sets you up for it coming from a place that's negative, coming from a place of dislike and of hate. And I'm going to tell you all, nothing good comes when we come from a place that is anything other than love. If we are not coming from whatever we're trying to do, whether it's reach a goal, have a conversation, whatever it is, have an argument with someone, if we're not coming from a place of love, it is not going to be successful. We're not going to get what we want out of the situation. And so we have to change and adjust how we view that. And that is really looking at that diet mentality. So the one thing about diets that kind of make me crazy is that whole idea of the good. You're either good or you're bad. Foods are good or bad. If you eat good foods, ooh, you're a good person. If you eat bad foods, you're a bad person. And that could not be further from the truth, but that is what we keep telling ourselves. That's the dialogue that goes through. And so when you eat something that's either, in your view, not a diet food or not going to help you lose weight, or you overeat, then it becomes you're a bad person. And I'm going to tell you, there is no one on this broadcast, and there's no one in my group, and there frankly is no one on Facebook that is a bad person. Might people do bad things? Sure, but I'm not talking about eating food. I mean, do people do things maybe that aren't necessarily wise? Absolutely. Have I done things that aren't very smart? Absolutely. All the time. Doesn't make me a bad person. And I will never, ever take that thought and believe it anymore. Used to, not anymore. So, again, being on a diet, that diet mentality sets us up to end up feeling badly, because again, we have these labels, these food labels that we put on ourselves. We set up restrictions, and when we set up restrictions and we deny ourselves, we make food so much more desirable. And I always tell this is one comparison I always do, and I always tell the story about the, it's you're 15 years old, and you bring, your mom, you bring a boy home, and your mom's like, oh, he's bad news. Maybe he drives a motorcycle, maybe a leather jacket, long hair. Long hair was always my dad's thing. That's like, oh, long hair, he's got to be a hoodlum. So, yeah, no, can't see that person. Can't go out with that person. Can't talk to that person. No. That person could be a total troll, and you are going to want to go out with that person like your life depended on it. And that's solely because you were told you can't have it. And it's the exact same thing with food. When we are told we can't have something, when we are denied something, we are restricted from something, that just makes us want it that much more. And that is really where that whole idea of not only the restriction, because that makes us feel bad, the denying, we're denied something, And I don't know about anybody else, but when I'm denied something and I'm not treated like everybody else, it takes me back to being in middle school and feeling like I didn't fit in. And if you asked anybody else, they're going to be like, oh, of course you fit in. You had lots of friends. I didn't feel like I fit in. I felt like I was out of place. And it takes me right back there. And we have to remember that diet set that up for us. The restriction, the denial, denying yourself of anything that you want, anything that you like, then that starts again to play with that psychological piece. It starts playing on your emotions. It starts bringing up all these beliefs you have about yourself or beliefs that other people have told you. And so that's really why that diet mentality can be so destructive, is because it brings up a lot of things for people, and they don't, and I'm going to say, I'm going to ask you all in the comments, if when you go on a diet, if you feel like suddenly you are so insecure, you are so like unsure of yourself, especially if it's not going well, if the diet's not going well, and all of a sudden you're doubting every single decision you make. If that's you, just write diets in the comments. And that'll let me know that you kind of either you've had that experience or that's something that you felt that oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. Like diets just almost put you in this very elevated and anxious place. And they make you feel very insecure. That's what diets do. That denial and restriction really does mess us up. And that's what we need to be moving away from. Nobody needs to have anything in their lives. We have enough stuff in our lives that 50% that we know is going to be negative. We have enough of that stuff coming at us. We don't need to be inviting more of it to come in. We get to control what we do and how we eat. So we need to make sure that we're doing that more often and we're not inviting that craziness into our lives. So that diet mentality, that whole idea of being on a diet, being off a diet, eating good food, eating bad food, having labels, all of those things, it's time for that to go away. It's time for that to be done, because that is actually hurting people in a very different way that is so much more destructive than it, because it's emotionally destructive, and nobody needs to subject themselves to that. So I am very passionate about the whole idea of, I've always talked about everything that I talk about. I don't do diets. I just don't. I don't believe in them. I don't think they work. I think it's unhealthy, and I just think that it's emotionally and mentally destructive, and we just don't need to have it. So, questions about that? Anybody have any questions or any comments or anything like that? Let's see. Okay. All right. We're moving on. Part number 3. Why we need to look to babies. Babies? What? Why do we need to look to babies to know how much to eat? Well, one of the things, if you think about it, for those of you who either have children, I do not have children, but I have plenty of nieces and nephews, and I have done a lot of caregiving in my time. And if you think about babies and how babies interact, especially when they're really, really young, we all know what that cry sounds like. When babies are hungry, they make a cry. And it is like it is so different than the poopy diaper cry. Way different. It's way different than the poopy diaper cry. The I'm hungry, I'm starving, and I need food now. That cry sounds so different. If you're a mama, put in the comments cry, and you'll let me know that there's a difference between the poopy diaper cry and the crying of I'm hungry, as it is like piercing. Because it's relentless too. They cannot be soothed. So that cry, that's what babies do when they're hungry. They cry. They get their bottle, or they get a breast, and they eat. And when they are done, they push away the bottle, they push away the nipple, whatever it is. They're done. They don't want any more. That's what all of us need to be doing. Somewhere along the lines, for a majority of the population, we have lost that ability to recognize when we are truly physically hungry and we need food, and when it is time to stop. When it is time to stop so we can be comfortable, so we can be satisfied, and not eat past that point. Babies have got it down, and most of us have lost that. But the cool part is that we can all get it back. We all can bring back that awareness of, how am I really feeling physically? Do I physically need food? And how can I eat in a way that will allow me to be able to be present enough to recognize, I think I actually could stop right now. I don't have to eat like it's my last meal. Okay? All of that, it's like anything else. It's just, it's muscle memory. It'll come back because we all had it very instinctually as children. When we were babies, we all had it. But somewhere along the lines, we lost it. And so we need to get that back. And so that is essentially a huge component of what I teach, is the idea of how do you recognize when you are truly hungry. That part is not as hard as recognizing when to stop, when you're satisfied. Hands down, the most challenging thing that any of my clients have to deal with. It is absolutely hands down the most challenging thing. So the idea is, again, we eat only when we're hungry and we stop when we're satisfied. Not full, satisfied. So you have something to write with? Here's my super pro tip. When you are, there's a couple things that have to go along with this. So when you are eating your meal, so you've served your meal. Now, you notice that I said serve your meal, not standing in front of the refrigerator grazing, or standing in front of the pantry and like just snacking, okay? A meal. You sit down, there's a plate of food, and you have decided what you're going to eat. You put it down and you're good. That's what you need to, okay, you got it down. Got your food there. What I would suggest, my suggestion, is that you immediately have your food down, you immediately split your plate in half. Imaginary line, you just take the fork and just divide the meal up. And you eat the first half of your meal as slowly as you possibly can. I am not ever going to say, chew your food 30 times. No. You need to eat slowly. You need to put your fork down. You need to enjoy the company of the people that you're having dinner with. But you eat slowly, and you eat the first half of your meal. When you get to that first half of your meal and you're done, before you even think about eating anything on the second half of your meal, you get to sit for at least 3 minutes. Drink some water and just sit. Talk to the person you're having dinner with. And again, dinner needs to be distraction free. You need to be very present with your meal. Sit, chit chat, whatever, 2-3 minutes. Then ask yourself, could I eat some more? Do I have room? Am I still hungry? You take a bite, you put your fork down. You finish it, you talk to somebody, you have a drink of water. And then you ask yourself, do I need another bite? Could I eat some more? If you can, you take another bite. There is never a problem if you are genuinely still hungry and you genuinely feel that you could have another bite. But the most important thing to remember is that if you start to feel that feeling of getting like, I should probably stop. That food that's on your plate, it doesn't have to go anywhere. You don't have to lose out on it. It doesn't have to be like, you didn't eat it now, we're throwing it away. You put that in the refrigerator, you can heat it up later. You can heat it up the next day. There is never anything. Food is never going away. You always have access to it. We are adults. We can eat what we want. No one is going to take food away from us. Okay? So we have to remember that. That phrase is what changed my life. Because I always felt like, tomorrow I'm going to start a diet, so I got to eat everything tonight. You don't have to do that. Food's not going anywhere. Okay? So that is my eating dissatisfied super pro tip, is really, really slowing yourself down. Really slowing yourself down. The other, oh, I just remembered my other second super pro tip. When you have a plate of food and we are trying to, you're trying to eat, you're trying to eat dissatisfied. And so you want to really be aware and present while you're eating. The most important, I think it's probably the first and most important thing you should do, is you always want to survey your food and you want to eat what looks the best first. Do not bother eating the outside. Like, I'm thinking of, some people like the crust of pizza. I can leave the crust. I want to eat the inside. Those people who love crust more, eat the crust first. Flip your pizza around, eat the crust first. Whatever it is that you like, if you're having like a cinnamon roll, do not waste your time on the outside of the cinnamon roll that's all dry and doesn't have all of that amazing frosting on it. Eat the inside first. And then you're more willing to stop and go, oh, yeah, I've had the best part. Why do I need to eat any more? Okay? Kid you not, that will help you. Eat the best part of the meal first, and you will have a much easier time walking away from what doesn't look that good. Also, just thought of something else. Also, third super pro tip: leave at least 2 bites on your plate every meal. 2 bites on your plate. Either throw it away or pack it up, but be done with it. Okay? All right, so that is the third part of eating like a baby, recognizing when you are satisfied. And again, it's not that there's something wrong with you that you can't do it. Most people have lost that at some point in their life. Most people lose it when they're babies, because how many times do you give a child a cookie or a bottle because they're crying and they're upset? And are they really hungry? Probably not. But they get it enough times, they're gonna keep eating. So we've got to kind of get away from that. All right. So those super pro tips. Does anybody have any questions about that? I want to make sure that I am answering any questions. Okay, what is going on? I'm going to do this. I'm going to refresh this because I feel like there is. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. There was. Sorry, I was not seeing any. I'm sorry. I wasn't meaning to not answer your questions, but I had to refresh my page. I was not. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was not getting any of these comments. I'm so sorry. Now I have cry there. Okay, good. Good. Y'all know. Yeah, that baby cry. That. Oh. It's like piercing. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Absolutely, Annette. You can absolutely get put on the email list for sure. I just want to make sure. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, yeah. You give your. Edie says I give my dog the crust. Yeah. Absolutely, George. So George says it was his realization when he decided not to have gastric bypass, that food isn't going anywhere and I can have it anytime. 100%. It's like, I'm telling you, I don't even know where I heard that, but it was the game changer for me. It was the absolute shift that I had to hear. And I really, like, it just totally changed things. I'm going to throw something else out here at the end too. Guys got to remind me here. I have something else I want to share. Brought up, oh yeah, to finish everything on your plate. Yeah, we got to get rid of that. The food rules. Those have to go away. We got to get rid of that. Okay, eat dessert first. Debbie loves doing that. Eating dessert first, 100%. Eat that dessert first when you're having dinner. The best part, you always want to do that. Eat the best part first. All right, last section. This section is pretty straightforward. It's part number 4, and it's, what are we supposed to eat? What foods do you need to eat? You need to eat foods that you love. That is what you need to do in order to lose weight. You need to eat foods that you love. Now, am I saying that you eat foods that you love without doing all the other stuff? No. That's just what you get. That's what you eat. You eat foods that you love, but then you eat to satisfy, and you take your time during your meal. You eat slowly. You really listen to your body. You let your body take in the food and really decide whether or not it needs to get any more food. We take care of our thoughts. We take care of our thoughts about ourselves. We build ourselves up. We build that foundation that we talked about yesterday, about our own belief in ourselves and our love for ourselves and love for ourselves, who we are right now. That stuff, everything has to come together. Because I know, and I'm not going to call anybody out on this call, but I know there are lots of people who have, after doing the program for, my program for a while, it's like, oh, it's just like piecemeal. Like, oh, I'll do a little bit. Maybe I'll just do this piece. Maybe I'll do this piece because these ones, they're not so hard, but some of those are really hard and I don't want to do them. Life is full of hard things, and you can do hard things because you're doing them right now. Your life there's probably lots of things in your life that are hard, and you do them anyway. You can do something like this. Okay? So when you put all these pieces together, it's magic. It is absolute magic when you put them all together, and that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. But I want to talk about eating what you love. So this is kind of piggybacks on the getting rid of the diet mentality, because this is so anti any kind of diet that, eating what you love. No, you're supposed to eat broccoli and fried chicken breast. Come on, of course you are. But the problem with that, there's 3 reasons why eating what you love is in fact the answer to losing weight. The first one is it removes the deprivation. It removes that, oh, I want something so much more because I don't get to have it. That is just human nature. It's how we work. It's how our brain works. And it removes that because it allows us to be able to know that no food is off limits. But we have to have the other pieces along with it. And I will tell you that I tried to do this. I tried to do it just eating what I loved, but I didn't have any of the thought work. I didn't have any of the understanding of the emotional piece of it. I didn't even know that existed. This was probably about almost 20 years ago, maybe a little less than 20 years ago. I tried because I watched my father. My father just eats whatever he wants. He doesn't eat very much of it, but he just eats whatever he wants. And his weight's never changed. My whole life, his weight's been the exact same. He's weighed 180 pounds since I was born, and he still does, and it's insane. But it's because he does not ever deny himself stuff, but he listens to his body, and he is very controlled, but it's just something that's just what he does. That's just who he is. Didn't work for me because I didn't have all the other pieces that I needed to have. But that is really important, to be able to know that you can eat what you love and you don't have to deprive yourself. And that is something that is very important for people to remember, is we've got to get away from that good food, bad food that we talked about earlier. That was a diet food. No, there's no diet food. There's no good food and bad food. It's just food. It's just food. Again, the second reason why eating what you love is so good is because it makes it easier to stop. It makes it easier to stop, even though people think oh my gosh, if I start eating macaroni and cheese, I'll never stop. Well, when you know you can always have it, that's when the food's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about it. That's when that comes into play. And that's when that's really powerful, is that you don't have to think, this is the Last Supper, I got to eat as much as I can. You don't have to. You don't have to do that at all. So it definitely does make it easier to stop eating, for sure. And then lastly, again, it eliminates those judgments not only about food, but also about people and about yourself. There's good food, there's bad food. If I eat good food, I'm a good person. If there's bad food, I'm a bad person. They're all judgments that we're making, not only about ourselves, but about other people. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to pull ourselves away and stop doing that. Stop making those kinds of judgments, not only about ourselves, but about other people as well. And about food. Food is just food. That's all. Food is just food. So, to recap, and here's something I want you to try. So if that really freaks you out, if you're like, there is no way I could do that, like if I let myself have like ice cream or whatever, what I'd really like you to do is try, like, plan it. Just plan it. Plan it to say, you know what, I'm gonna have an ice cream cone, or I'm gonna have whatever it is. But the only way you can have it is if there is room for you to have it. We don't eat our meal, get to satisfied, and then decide we want to have dessert on top of it. And if you have heard anything about my plan, it's we don't eat snacks, so everything's eaten together. So if you're going to have dessert, you need to make sure that you have room for it. So I would encourage you to try and really pay attention to what are the thoughts that go through your head when you're trying to allow yourself to have something that you probably have denied. Maybe you're a person who never eats bread. Maybe you never eat potatoes. Maybe you never eat cake. And you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. I'm just going to eat everything. You have to remind yourself, it's not going anywhere. You get to have it. You get to have it anytime. It's never restricted from you. You tell yourself that, remind yourself of that, and then remind yourself of what your goals are. It's going to make it a heck of a lot easier. But you also have to have that thought work going along with it. Okay? So that is day number 2. That is part number 2, more of the practical side of what and how you need to eat. The other thing is that I always like to tell people, I never, ever want to in any way be a part or be affiliated with a plan that is prescribed for people. Like, you can have a half a cup of grains, or you can have a half a cup of rice. I do not want my 85-year-old mom to be counting calories or to be measuring stuff. She has lived a long life. She does not need to do that. That is not right. It is not fair, and I do not want her doing that. And so I don't let her. But I don't encourage that, because I don't think that's not reality. We have to learn how to live our lives the way we want to live them, and not be whipping out our half cup serving cups at somebody's house for dinner and you're scooping up your half a cup. That's just not cool. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to live our lives sustainably and enjoy ourselves and have the foods that we want to have when we want to have them, but have them in a way that's going to work for us and work for our bodies. So tomorrow we are going to put all these pieces together. We're going to put all the combining pieces together. All of them are going to come together, and they are all going to fit magically together as a little unit. So we're going to talk about that. Now, if anyone who's watching this masterclass, if you are not a member of my Facebook group, and you would like to be a member of my Facebook group, because this stuff happens every Wednesday live in my group. I go live with my podcast. We record the podcast live. There are giveaways. There are habit tracking, work guides, and all sorts of stuff that I just love giving things away in the group. There's also a whole website that has lots of free resources that I want people to have. So if you are not a member and you want to be a member, all you need to do is we're on my personal profile. If you look to the left, there is going to be a link that is going to be, Facebook group, Food Breakthrough. Click that. It's going to take you directly to the group, and you can just answer the questions and be good. Or www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, and come and join the group. And again, this is a regular thing that we do. Not necessarily this degree of training, but every week I go live with my podcast. every week, there's giveaways. Like I said, there's all sorts of things, and these are going to be continuing to happen as well. So challenges, all the good things. So if you're not a member, come on over to the group. Tomorrow, like I said, we're going to put a bow on everything, pull it all together, and what you can do. And again, more next steps. Remember the pro tips that I gave you about eating dissatisfied. Like I said, hands down, one of the most challenging things for people to do, but it is absolutely doable, absolutely something that you can bring back into your life and have that be a regular habit. All right, I'm going to pop over into the group and see if anybody... Gina, it's true. You know that people do that. They whip out their like little measuring cups and they're like measuring out at a buffet. I know, it's nuts. All right. La. Good. All right. Good. Yeah. And Denise, that makes it so much easier if you have something like oh, Beth, I'm not saying I'm gonna, Denise, hold on, I'll get back to that. Beth, absolutely. Remember what you love. What do you love? What do you want to eat? How do you want to eat? You get to decide. Like I had the most killer salad today. Oh my God, it's my favorite. Oh, it's from Trader Joe's. It's so good. I've had 2 salads this week, and I usually don't eat salads. But it's always about what do you want? What do you want to have? What do you want to? What do you want? What's foods that you love? And I'm saying, I'm saying that like I had a salad. It was great, vegetables. But I'm not going to eat vegetables and be miserable. I'm gonna make my vegetables good. They're going to taste good, and whatever that looks like, that's me. So yeah, no, I definitely agree that I think a well-rounded diet is very important, but I don't think forcing yourself to eat things. I mean, I think yes, there's natural things that don't happen when we don't eat vegetables. So I think we all know we need to eat vegetables. Just make them in a way that you're going to be able to enjoy them, and you're not going to feel denied. You're not going to feel restricted. So, absolutely. And Denise, yes, making a big thing of lasagna and then just portioning it out. That's awesome. What is going? Oh, that's it. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Alrighty. Okay, so good. I'm so glad. Okay, so yes, love Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is amazing. So what I'd like for you to do right now, before we sign off, is just in the comments, if you could put down just one thing that you are going to take away from today. One thing that is like a thing that stands out for you. Patricia, you asked me if I could the super pro tips. I can absolutely throw together the super pro tips, or we'll put them in the Facebook group as well, and put them on my profile, or I'll put them in the email that I send you, because I will send you the replay as well. So I'll get you those super pro tips for sure. Okay. All right. Sounds good, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your Wednesday. And we are back here. Leave a few bites on your plate. Yes, George, that's awesome. If you do that, at least 2 to 3 times a day, you're like, shoot, you're good. Eat the best parts first. Eat what you truly love. Leave a few bites. Food is just food. I can eat mac and cheese again. Heck yeah, you can, Gloria, 100%. Food is just food. Eat what you love first. Eat the best part first. Eat the middle of the darn cinnamon roll. Think about how babies eat. Oh my God, I love this. Leave 2 bites on your plate. Absolutely. The middle of the donut first. Yes. Oh my gosh. So good. All right. Don't ignore or push away feelings. Good. And that's so important. So important. All right. So for any of my ladies on here who are on who are a part of the 21 day, we are jumping over onto my Zoom in about 5 minutes. So we will have our weekly coaching call, and we'll get some stuff taken care of. Okay. All right, everyone. Have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you all tomorrow, same time, same place, same time, same place, right here, and we will pull everything all together and put a bow on it. All right? Okay, everyone. Have a good night.